Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through the industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Bridgit Norris. She is the creator of Revolt Weekly, leadership coach, and strategist for conscious disruptors. Welcome to the show, Bridgit.
Hi, thank you so much.
You are welcome to the show. And I'm sure a lot of people would want to understand what you are going to, and make benefit of what you are going to talk today. You already talk about, finding how to be a rebel in a sea of conformity. Here we'll talk on the corporate side, how to avoid getting stuck in corporate mediocrity. So, Bridget, to start with, a lot of business leadership and the way our corporate structure has been created, that they all want you to be conformist. It's the
100%.
assembly line production that's there. Many people, many companies, many leadership that have been accustomed to. Everybody should look alike. Nobody should be different, and anybody who is different is not wanted. Not everywhere, but a lot of places, and that has given these things like great resignation and quiet quitting. So, how does a person live within that atmosphere and still not be a conformist, still be a rebel with a cause for whatever, making the world a better place?
Yeah, so for me, it started actually early in my career. I was in the construction industry, which when I started was an odd place for women generally to begin with. Women weren't really seen on construction sites. So there was a lot of pushback for me to want to learn and grow in the industry. So it started early for me, pushing back and saying, why can't I be just as good as someone else? It doesn't really matter who. Why can't my face be present on a construction site? Like, what is the problem? And I think that's where it started for me, is really just not agreeing with that concept and just pushing back. And I just continued to pursue and just continued to demand that I be seen in that space. And it definitely grew from there. But that is definitely how it started for me. So I think pushing back when you know you're good enough in that space is the first place to start.
Right. Is it pushing back? But does the corporate in today's time, when we are talking about many people are brilliant, but so many are still very mediocre. Maybe not in the things that they know, but maybe in the mindset. They just want to live the life, and go on the path that is there. So easy to do. You don't have to apply your mind, apply your life, and just be happy with what it's like a matrix. Just live in it and be happy about it. Only a few will want to know the reality. So for a normal person, it's not like everybody can just move out and start something on their own. How do they still live within that atmosphere and be the person that they want to be, the creator that they want to? Is there a simpler way of living that life, or is it that you have to quit that place of mediocrity and start afresh?
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. The mindset of it is are you really comfortable where you're at? Do you really want to stay there? And if that's the case, then that is okay also. I think we have a lot of pressure also on people to try to be something bigger, to be something more, to be, you have to want more, you have to be more, you have to want more money. And I think that that's also a pressure on people that should not be there. If you're comfortable in what you do and where you're at, then own that and just be that and live that. But if you're not, then you have to be willing to choose within yourself. Listen, this is not what I want to do. This is not where I want to be. So how do I progress within this corporate structure if I want to stay here? And climb the ladder, as they say, and make it so that you are successful in what you want to do. It literally has to start within you, because nobody else is going to be the driving force for you. You have to be your driving force.
Right. So herein then comes the concept of self-leadership. And so for people, like you talk about conscious disruptors. You are a strategist for conscious disruptors. They want to change the world, but the world wants to change them. Many of them, and that's the world we live in. So, what would you like to tell them? How do they keep their brilliance alive amidst the sea of mediocrity? Firstly, is that, and what would you like to? You are a leadership coach. What would you like to tell the leadership, the leaders, the corporate leaders who are dealing with such brilliant minds? What is the lesson for them? What can they learn out of this? Should they conform to the old ways of their thinking, or should they look at the way at the writing on the wall and conform with something new and be a part of the fresh, a breath of fresh air? How do you look at things from both the sides?
So as the person, you want to grow within the company, I think the number one missing piece that I see a lot of is when the conformity starts to really land is people don't know their actual true strength. They don't know, I like to say it, you don't know your superpower. And so we want to try to be all things and do all things. And that really is what keeps us in that sea of conformity. It's pulling out what really is your strength and really honing in on that. Becoming a peak performer of that strength is going to make you stand out. And I think on the leader side, I think what leaders need to know these days is there's a difference between being a leader and a manager. And there's too many people claiming to be a leader that are actually managers. And in this day and age, people do not want to be told what to do. They do not want to be micromanaged. They want to, show up and own who they are. They want to show up and really, do well in what they do, but they don't want to be micromanaged. And I think that is something that true leaders need to really look at, help them hone their strengths and their skills and let go of the reins a little bit and let people really shine.
Right, right, Bridget. Now let's talk about women in particular, especially in business and workforce. And your mission is to help 10,000 women do business on their own terms. You faced a lot of difficulties when you started with the construction industry. Now, not everyone is, a lot of women are not in the construction industry, though the number is rising. Even later in the day, I have an interview with somebody who's in the construction industry. But so in the corporate workforce, a lot of women are there. And a lot of women want to make that difference. Very brilliant people there. But they have to face problems from two fronts. One is from the leadership mindset. Secondly, it can be also a lot of conformist behavior demanded by a lot of peers. What would you like to tell them? How do they deal with this sort of a thing? How do they plan? Then they also need to take care of, have to take care of the family. They have to balance so many things at the same time. There is hardly any mind space left. So how do they chart their future amidst this so many things that they demanded their attention?
I think the biggest thing that I see in the women that I work with is, and it goes back to the same constant concept of really, we have to be so many things. Like you said, we have to be, leaders, managers, we have to work in corporate, we have to be moms, we have to, live on the home front and do all that stuff. That I think that when you get to the corporate structure, you get to your business or the business that you own, you have to stay focused in that space while you are there and be really, really on your game in that sense. But what makes it harder is that I find that women struggle to really understand, what their strength is, because we're good at, we have to be good at so many things. We have to be flexible. We have to be, I like to say multi-passionate and multifunctional. But I find that once a woman actually owns, like, listen, this is my superpower. This is really what I'm great at. If I'm the CEO and the visionary, that's what I do. If I'm the action taker and the strategic planner, then that's what I do. Once I find women actually hone that and own it, everything changes for them in their business. The power that they exude shows up in everything, whether they own the business or whether they're trying to climb, a ladder in someone else's business.
Right. And what would you like to tell those women in power? A lot of women are getting, are into responsible and senior positions in companies in the corporate culture. But we don't get to hear of many stories where they have actually fought for women colleagues. When mostly it is about, oh, this is what I faced. This is what I had to go through. This is what the problem was. They were not letting me give what was due to me. These are mostly the type of stories we hear.
Yes.
What can they do for women empowerment? And women, women, what you call is conscious disruptors within the workforce, because that can actually, you are leading the charge with the revolt. What can they lead the charge with? What is your message to them?
I think you have to find I'm going to say it in that fashion, you need to find your revolt. And the revolt cannot be this standard stereotypical thing that we see with like feminine movements and blaming it on X, Y, and Z. No, like find your revolt and stand strong for that. This isn't someone wouldn't let me do this. I don't take that for an answer. You keep moving and keep pushing until you get what you want. And if in that place that you're not getting what you want, then the strength, the hardest part is knowing when it's time to move on and really create that somewhere else, because there's lots of places nowadays where that's not an issue, where women are, in control. They are the CEOs of ginormous firms and Amazons and all of these, huge businesses. And so it's happening. And if there's a space that you're in that you've really found the revolt, you've really pushed and you've really done the work without blaming anything or anyone, and that space is not for you anymore, then find the strength to move on, because that is the only other option. And I think that's what a lot of women are doing. They're moving on and they're creating their own thing. They're making their own businesses. They're, choosing to step out of that and make the decision for themselves and their family. I think that's where we also look at it as a hard example for our children.
Right. So we talked about the corporate setting. What about the society? It is a huge number of people, and people who can be anyone, your close neighbors, next door neighbors, to people out on the streets, and some people might be even from your own family. So how do you maintain that uniqueness that God has given to you, that brilliance that God has given to you, and how do you continue to be a part of society which many a times wants to be a conformist, but you want to shine brighter than what people are around you are? How do you manage that? You can still manage into the workforce, because there are still some rules and regulations in place. You have got that sort of a thing to rely on. What about the society at large? How do you deal with this?
Yeah, it's scary, because going out in the world, people have a lot to say about a lot of things, and it's a scary concept to show up as yourself 100%, 100% of the time, because it's been ingrained in us to just blend in and don't make any waves. For me, I've been this way since I was, I don't even know, I can't even remember what age, I moved out when I was 12. I've always been very, very rebellious in that way, and just wanting to be me and show up at me and having that be enough. And I think the more we can, as women, even as men, I have a 24-year-old son who, is working his way through the world trying to do the same thing. I don't think it's, a gender or an issue. I think it's a standard issue for society, is just to be comfortable enough in your own skin, and that be enough to show up that way all the time, because exactly as you said, we are all unique and you need to own that. So I think on that basis, I think it's a practice. I'm not going to say there's just like this magic pill that all of a sudden, and it's a practice. It's been something I've been practicing since I was a kid. So it's easy for me to say, but I understand it's hard for people to do. So I would say you just have to practice it. You have to show up, just like you show up to work out and go to the gym. You have to flex those muscles. And the more you do it, the easier it gets and the more enjoyment and freedom you find from it.
Right. So from a society's point of view, there can be differences within the family itself. You might think that you are your own person, you are the authentic, you're trying to be yourself, being authentic, but your parents might think differently. And forget about others, they can be more judgmental. What is uniqueness? What is being yourself in today's time? Is it about just being rebellious, that you don't conform to something, okay, whatever it is? Or is it about a conscious rebellious person, something to fight for, not a rebel without a cause, but something, even for yourself, to be yourself? Because several times, this whole discussion seems to be going, especially about the young people, which they call it generation Z. You people, I call it generation Z, because of that's the way we pronounce it. So how do you look at the generation Z in today's time? Should you look at them as rebels without the cause or with a cause? Because a lot of voices keep on coming. Sometimes they are very, very responsible voices. Sometimes there are, you do understand that a few things need to be told to whoever it is who is creating that ruckus and not the right voice.
I 100% agree. I think we have that the generation is definitely much more comfortable in their skin. They're much more comfortable to show up and be who they are and say what they want. I think that comes at a cost on some levels, because I think we are experiencing it now where, some people are entitled. There is no purpose. There is no cause. They just show up and say, give me what I want. And I think that we're teetering on the balance of that becoming an issue. And I think that the older generation, I think we see it. I laugh a lot and say my grandparents would be horrified at the concept of, nobody wants to work and nobody wants to do anything. So I find myself laughing at that, but it's definitely an issue. It's definitely something I constantly am expressing to my own son. And making sure that if you have something to say, you've always been somebody that stands up for other people and make sure that you are doing it for a cause, for a reason, for a purpose that you believe in, and not just to be a voice in a loud sea of voices.
So what should be the revolt should be all about? What is your revolt about, the revolt, and what do you write in the revolt weekly? Who is it for, and what is it all about?
I think the revolt for me, it started personally, which I love. I love working with people that their legacy, their focus, their purpose starts internally. And it started for me, as a kid. I kind of lost it as an adult, and I conformed. I got into the world and did all of the things I was supposed to do, and realized that I was doing that. And then I completely just started my own revolt again. So I think that the more I can help women, men, it doesn't matter, find their own personal revolt and get back to that, I always just say, get back to that excited, 12-year-old when everything was amazing and you wanted the world, you wanted to take on the world for all the good reasons. Like, I want people to find that in themselves again and find that within them, whether it's in their business, in their personal life, whether you have a cause in the world that you want to go out there and help. You creating your own personal revolt, I think, changes everything. It's a season of life that I think we all need to have.
Absolutely, absolutely. So how can people connect with you and learn more about to have positive revolts in their life, which leads changes to not only their lives, but even has the potential to add and make a difference to humanity itself?
Very easy, both on Facebook and on Instagram. It's just Bridgit Norris. It's Bridgit. Norris. You can find me on both. On Instagram, I have Linktree. You can click on any of the links. I have some freebies in there. You can get on the Revolt Weekly. I'd love to see you inside, and I'm pretty active as far as responding with anybody who has questions and they want to create their own revolt.
Wonderful. On this note, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you so much.